Harry. All will be well.
We left Hamburg precisely as my uncle had planned, and reaching Copenhagen on the day following, we discovered that a little Danish schooner, the Valkyrie, was to sail on the 2nd of June for Reykjavik. The captain was on board and seemed surprised at the energy and cordiality with which the professor shook his hand. To him, a voyage to Iceland was commonplace. My uncle, on the other hand, considered it an event of sublime importance. The honest sailor took advantage of the professor's enthusiasm to double our fares. I bore the voyage well, but my uncle, to his great annoyance, was dreadfully seasick. This troubled him all the more, since it prevented him from questioning the captain on the subject of Snæfell. He spent most of the time lying on his bunk, groaning and dwelling hopefully on the end of the voyage. I felt no pity for him. At the end of a fortnight, we again sighted land, Reykjavik. My uncle dragged himself from his cabin, haggard and pale, but full of enthusiasm, his eyes shining with pleasure and satisfaction. He led me to the quarterdeck, gripped my arm, and pointed over the northern part of the bay to a high Twin Peaks mountain, a double cone covered with snow.
Behold. Behold, Mount Snæfell.
M. Friedrichsen, professor of natural sciences at the College of Reykjavik, to whom my uncle carried letters of introduction, made us welcome. And out of the 3 rooms which comprised his house, 2 were placed at our disposal. After dinner on the day of our arrival, the 2 professors fell into an earnest conversation.
Well, Herr Fredrickson, I wonder if among the valuable books in your library you have any works of the learned Arne Saknussemm?
Saknussemm? Master, you speak of one of the most distinguished scholars of the 16th century. Alchemist, naturalist, and traveler.
Exactly. Have you any of his...
One of the most distinguished men, connected with Icelandic science and literature.
Yes, you say, sir. Have you any...
A man illustrious above all.
True. But his works, we have none. None in Iceland?
None in Iceland or anywhere else.
Oh, but why not?
Because Arne Saknussemm was persecuted for heresy, and in 1573 his books were publicly burnt in Copenhagen by the common hangman.
Splendid.
I beg your pardon?
Now I understand why Arne Saknussemm was forced to hide his magnificent discoveries. Why he was compelled to conceal his great secret with a baffling cryptograph.
A secret? What secret do you mean?
No secret, none at all. I was carried away by my enthusiasm. Tell me, Herr Friedrichsen, what is that mountain on the horizon?
It is Snæfell, sir. One of the most curious volcanoes in existence, and yet rarely visited.
So, then I have a mind to begin my studies here with an inspection of Mount Fiesel. What did you call it?
Snæfell, my dear sir. But how do you propose to get there?
By boat across the bay.
It cannot be done. There is not a boat available in all Reykjavik. You must go overland along the coast.
So then I must have a guide.
Of course. I know the very man for you. A shrewd and worthy fellow who will please you.
Can I see him today?
No, he cannot be here before tomorrow. I will send for him. Leave it to me, my dear Professor von Harvey.
That night I slept soundly. When I awoke in the morning, I heard my uncle speaking in the next room, and I dressed hastily and joined him. He was talking earnestly with a man of Herculean build and quick, intelligent eyes, a man whose bearing revealed a calm and phlegmatic temperament. My uncle beamed at me.
Harry, my dear boy, this is Hans Bjelke. He used to be our guide.
How do you do?
Thank you. I am well. Hans is a mighty hunter, Harry. A hunter of the Eiderduck. But to revert to our business, Hans. How far is the volcano Snæfell from here?
22 miles.
So we can be there in 2 days.
No, 8 days, or perhaps 10 days. I speak of Danish miles. 8,000 paces each.
Dear me, then we must have horses.
Oh, thank you. I will not ride a horse. I like my own feet best. How many horses do you wish?
4 horses. We have baggage, and I and Mr. Harry will need a horse each.
4 horses. I will see to this.
Good. Now, as to wages, I will pay you $3 Riksdollars a week.
3 Riksdollars. I accept. And, Master, you shall pay me every Saturday night. If you fail, then our agreement is finished.
Oh, very well. Let me pay you now, 1 week in advance.
Oh, thank you, no. You'll pay after my work, not before. After.
As you say. Hans, I wish to start in 48 hours from now. Can you be ready?
48 hours from now. It is understood.
I go now. I go and prepare.
Farewell.
A splendid fellow. Eh, Harry? What he little suspects the marvelous part he's about to play in the history of exploration.
You mean that he'll come with us all the way?
To the center of the earth, my boy. To the center of the earth.
For the next 2 days, we were busily occupied in packing our instruments, weapons, tools, and our provisions. Our instruments, briefly, were as follows. 1, a thermometer of Eitzel, marked to 150 degrees. 2, a manometer, an instrument worked by compressed air to ascertain atmospheric pressure at sea level. 3, a first-class chronometer by Boissonat of Geneva. 4, 2 compasses. 5, a night glass. 6, 2 Ruhmkorff's coils, worked by electricity, which would supply a first-rate portable light. 7, a voltaic battery. Our weapons consisted of 2 rifles and 2 6-shooter revolvers. Our tools were 2 pickaxes, 2 crowbars, a silken ladder, 3 iron-shod poles, a hatchet, a hammer, a dozen wedges, some pointed pieces of iron, and a great quantity of strong rope. The hamper of provisions contained enough concentrated meat and biscuit to last us 6 months. The only drink provided by my uncle was the Hollands gin called Schiedam. Of water, not a drop. However, we carried gourds, and my uncle counted on finding water and filling them at the outset of our journey. Finally, we also carried a medical chest, boxes of tinder and tobacco, and a large belt crammed with notes and gold. I shall not dwell on our adventures and misadventures on the journey to Snæfellsnes. When we arrived at the village beneath the mountain, Hans hired 3 Icelanders to replace the horses. It was understood that these men would leave us at the bottom of the crater. When my uncle told Hans that he intended to explore the volcano to the last possible limits, Hans shrugged his shoulders and said,
It is all right. Where you explore, I come. To me, it is all the same.
And so at last we started to climb the mountain. Snæfellsnes, 5,000 feet high, is the termination of a volcanic mountain range, and Hans led the way up its slopes as calmly as if he had been walking over Salisbury Plain. About 7 in the evening, we reached a kind of spur, and I felt I could go no further. This was the region of eternal snows. The cold was searching and intense. The wind blew with great violence. Despite his impatience, my uncle decided to call a halt.
Stop! Hans! We shall stop here!
We cannot stop. We must climb higher.
What? Why must we climb?
To save our lives. Look below. It is the Mistur. Come, master, come.
Mister, what's he talking about?
There, Harry. There is the Mistur.
I looked on the plain below. A vast, prodigious volume of pulverized pumice, sand, and dust was rising to the heavens in the form of a mighty waterspout, and the wind was driving it directly towards the side of Snæfellsnes where we were perched.
That's the Mistur, Harry. If it breaks over us, it will destroy us. Nothing gets more certain. Make haste! Make haste, master!
We are coming! Forward, Harry! Forward!
That was part 1 of A Journey to the Center of the Earth, adapted by Howard Jones from the novel by Jules Verne. The cast was as follows. Harry Lawson was played by Bernard Horsfall, Professor von Hartwig by Geoffrey Banks, Professor Friedrichsson by Georg Scheldrup, and Hans Bielke by John Daglish. It was produced in the north of England by Trevor Hill.